So imagine a shipyard. It's not the environment that I'm used to. You know, I'm actually from Barnsley, and I'm more a mining kind of guy. But BAE Systems submarines, they build submarines. It's in Barrow-in-Furness. It's cold, it's wet, it's at the end of the longest cul-de-sac in England, which is the A590. And it takes forever to get there. That's where I've been for the last 3 years, on and off. I've been in L&D now for about 18 years, and it was a brilliant opportunity for me, the first time I've ever come across this. And we kind of created it ourselves in the business, and I'm not sure it could be replicated in exactly the same way. But I think the messages can. So let me share them with you. But before I do that, can I just throw some figures at you and tell me if you think this sounds interesting? A 493% return on investment in 6 months. Does that sound interesting? Yeah, okay. A £200,000 reduction in spend in 12 months, a 40% reduction on the year before. Does that sound interesting? Okay. A 40.7% average rise in personal effectiveness of managers. Does that sound interesting? Okay, if you said yes to all those things, what we've done is we've been there to try and help change the management culture up there to a more collaborative approach for decision making. And if it sounds like an interesting story, which you've seen lots of yeses there, I just want to share that with you. So the purpose of the project and the challenge was, what was thrown at me about 3 years ago was this. We want to increase productivity within the business. And we want to reduce delinquencies within the business. And the delinquency is against targets that are being set by the governments, etc. Secondly, and more importantly, we want to transfer the skill of coaching from us, the coaching specialists, my business, into the management teams at BAE Systems, so we can enable this collaborative approach for decision making in the shipyard. Now, if you can imagine in the shipyard, it's all straight air and curly teeth. You know, they're quite tough people, and you wouldn't want to fight them, that kind of thing. And going along there and talking about coaching, which is seen as this kind of pink fluffy thing, we had to be really careful about how we approach this. And that was the introduction I had from the OD person, not my words. So, we certainly were careful with it. My main aim as a business was, in the words of Nanny McPhee, if you need me but do not want me, I shall stay. And then at the end of it, if you want me but do not need me, then I shall go. So I kind of had that in mind right from the beginning. So we thought about these things. Oh, and the other challenge as well was doing it within budget, which is always a challenge. So we went away and thought about it as a team, and we thought about it some more, and we thought about it a little bit more. And actually, it was while watching my children at home. I've got 4 boys at home, and it's fascinating watching them. And I thought, well, where do they learn to be the people they are? They don't kind of go on courses and stuff for that. You don't stand by a flip chart as a parent and kind of draw, you know, triangles and 4-box models and stuff. What you actually do is you behave in a certain way, and they kind of replicate that. They copy it. So we went back to BAE and presented our thoughts about how we could do this, which was basically we would like to do some coaching, but not coaching as I'd previously seen it. I don't know about you, but the coaching I've done before, or I've received before, is where you sit down with someone for an hour, 2 hours every month, whatever the period of time is. You might meet them 5 or 6 times, and you work on some key objectives. And that works. I've seen it work really, really well. I've always kind of challenged it in the way that the coachee brings along their view of the world and doesn't bring along the environment that they're in and other people's view of the world. So we seriously thought about that when we were looking at this project. We suggested a pilot, and the pilot was that we work with 1 boat. So that means the team that was building submarine number 2 in the shipyard, which involved, it started off at the team leader level. Then we got the area managers involved, who were directly above them. Then we got the boat manager involved. And then along came the operations director, and he kind of went, I quite like this, can I get involved with it? And we said, oh yeah, all right then. And then the board of directors, one of the board of directors came along and said, actually, I want to get involved in this as well. So we had a kind of everybody approach to this. And I'm going to ask you a question now. I just want you to write down a word on a piece of paper somewhere. And the question's this. Imagine yourself as Pinocchio, and you've got Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder at all times. How would that feel? How would that feel? Just write your word down. How does that feel?
Exhausting.
Exhausting. Other thoughts? Stifling. Uncomfortable? Annoying, irritating? Comfortable? Okay. Yeah? You got a moral reference. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Those were the feelings that people had when we first went. And bearing in mind this is a shipyard, it can be quite a scary environment, you know. Those are the kind of feelings that these people had about coaching. And we had to deal with that. And we dealt with that by the people that we used to do this. We were able to build rapport very quickly with these people, engage in their background, engage in commonalities, and then from that they could engage in the relationship of coaching. So what we actually did was, the impact was that we integrated the coaches in the business for between 12 and 26 weeks per person. We would follow them around for whole days at a time, and we would give them instant feedback on what it was they were doing. So we caught them doing all the things that they wouldn't normally be caught doing, and that's good and bad, by the way. I'm not just talking about bad things there. We were an instant reference point, third-party reference point as to what we saw and what we heard. And instead of them waiting until they went to see their coach in a month's time or whatever it was, we instantly coached them at that point. And so we started to see changes instantaneously in the next hour or so, which was very powerful, actually. There were no role players, no hypothetical situations, no. Someone mentioned about, you know, views being changed over time and adapted to what you really think. None of that. It was just without clouded judgment what was seen and heard at that moment. And it was fascinating. It was a real privilege to be able to do that. To be able to have that time and build those relationships that we wanted. So the whole function started then to go through it. We started off with Boat 2, we moved on to manufacturing, into engineering, into planning. Boats 3 and 4 we went through. And over 3 years we've actually gone through hundreds of managers doing this process. That was the first innovation, which is obviously a big thing. The second innovation was this. The client came back to me about 18 months later and said, we know you saved us £500,000 by doing this instead of going down the training route and all the stuff that goes with training, like, you know, paying for hotels and all that kind of stuff. But we want you to cut the budget again. Can you come up with another solution? We want the same stuff, but we want a different way. Up to that point, we'd used associate coaches. We said to them, if you pay for the recruitment and pay for the wages of 3 coaches, we'll take the risk on board and we'll buy those coaches in, we'll employ them. So you've still got the kudos of using external coaches. You've still got the removed from the political side of the business. But what you get is a reduced spend. So the reduced spend went from 500,000 to 300,000 a year. £200,000 reduction. The great thing for us as a company was they were only working there 3 days a week, and we got them for the other 2 days a week to do other stuff as well. So that was the second innovation. Just to finish this off, the report that went back for the return on investment to the board, and this is a 6 months report that we send in. The final one we sent in was this: 87 clients received coaching in those 6 months. The total return on investment was £739,482 for a spend of £150,000. 100% of coaching clients report an increase in their overall performance effectiveness. Average increase in individual managers' effectiveness was 40.7, I mentioned earlier. And there was a reduction of delinquent jobs in a key area from 12,000 delinquencies to 60 in that 6 months. We also stopped 11 managers from leaving, and the on costs of doing that as well. That is my story. I hope it was useful.
Great, thank you.